Big reason was that they were close to a big book distributor, and this was going to be the underpinnings of Amazon, which was buying and selling books online, building a catalog that you just can't match as a physical retailer.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Maybe
Mm.
just to take a beat on that one.
Yeah,
Books being first was strategic, not a coincidence.
talk about it.
Like that was like there's a lot of strategy there. Books is the only item or the only I guess you'd call it section, like the only type of product where there's more items than any other product in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Books, even today, are being published on the order of magnitude of millions of books a year,
Mm-hmm.
and any physical bookstore is only going to have 20 or 30,000 books at any one time, right? Like you just can't physically have millions of books that are all coming out at the same time. A digital reference point, like a digital store, can do that.
Mm-hmm.
You can have 100 million titles and all be accessible, Dewey Decimal System, or whatever you want to do. And so it's strategic. He saw the fact that books outnumber all the other products in terms of the amount of items, the amount of SKUs you can have. And so yeah, this is a perfect example to digitize this, and that's why they started with books. It wasn't just like a random thing.
Yeah, yeah, and I've seen him say as much too.
Right.
Is
Right.
that just the number just made sense? Um, but he always talks about this, and we've also seen this with Dan Gilbert.
Mm.
Ideas are
Easy.
and execution is worshipped.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the main thing. And so recognizing it was one thing, pulling it off
Yes.
was another thing. Parlaying it into what we see today was a whole other thing.
Right. So you want to get started on how we actually built this thing?
Yeah, so it started out as Cadabra Inc. I'm
Yeah.
assuming because of abracadabra.
Right.
But then he heard somebody call it Cadaver Inc. and he was like, all right, I'm gonna change this. This isn't working. He also played around with the idea of Relentless being the name. And again, we see that with Relentless.com still being redirected to Amazon.com. But ultimately, they settled on Amazon, named after the river, for the size, and that was like the bettings of it. So, and again, another practical advantage is Amazon being named Amazon put them at the top of a lot of listings. So there was just a lot of logistical dominoes that he set up, whether, I don't know, consciously or just in hindsight, but the instinct was there.
Right. And this is all around 1994.
Yeah. So he set up operations in his garage, Northeast 28th Street in Bellevue, Washington.
Yeah.
And Shell Capan was the first programmer early on. And so the first sale in early growth, I'm just going to run through a little bit of this.
Sure.
I'm going to break it down. Amazon.com launched as an online bookstore in July 16th, 1995. The first book sold was Douglas Hofstadter's Fluid Concepts and Creative Analogies. Within the first month, Amazon had sold books to customers in all 50 states and 45 countries. Bezos' parents, Mike and Jackie, invested approximately $245,000, nearly their entire life savings, in the company. And the early tagline was Earth's biggest bookstore.
Yeah.
In 1997, they IPO'd, and he wrote his shareholder letter. Amazon went public on the NASDAQ on May 15th, 1997 at $18 per share. They generated $148 million in revenue that year with a net loss of $30 million. Bezos' first shareholder letter became legendary. He laid out the philosophy and would guide the company for decades. He talked about long-term thinking, customer obsession, willingness to be understood, market leadership over short-term stability. And he attaches this 1997 shareholder letter to every subsequent shareholder letter, or he did,
Right.
until he resigned as CEO.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the way that he like getting your parents to give you almost $300,000 is a very important step.
Yeah.
Like that's not something that should be looked over in terms of how you start a company. That initial funding can do wonders for you.
Break it down.
I mean, just that. It can do absolute wonders. The fact that you have that kind of liquid mobility in a very early stage venture, you can hire a programmer, you can hire marketing, you can do these things because, I mean, Jeff was very technical, is very technical, but the first thing they did was hire people to build the site and build the product.